The third and last lightning talk of today will be Sonja Jaakkola with her talk Designing for Conversion. She's a designer and developer focused on helping companies grow their business through digital channels. In her free time, she plays with clay, eats berries, and sometimes organizes Wordcamp Finland or Nordic. Have fun with Sonja's lightning talk Designing for Conversion.
My name is Sonja, and I'm a designer and a developer at a digital sales consultancy company called Columbia Road. And today I will be talking to you about designing for conversion. And the focus of this talk will be mostly on existing digital services, as we will be talking about conversion optimization. But let's get started from the basics. What is a conversion? Basically, the conversion is the goal. So it's the point where a user performs a desired action on your service. And those goals can be these macro conversions, so those main goals of your service, for instance, a visitor completing a purchase in your web shop, or those could be micro conversions like a customer leaving a review, or even a person landing on your page from Google search results. But why should you think about conversion? And I'll give you an example of the effect of conversion rate. So let's say this is your sales funnel and you get in 10,000 visitors from your inbound, so basically from your marketing activities. And usually those 10,000 people cost quite a bit of money to get in your service, at least if you're not like super well-known service already. So if the site conversion rate was 2%, that would result in 200 new customers. And if your customer lifetime value was 100 euros, that would actually end up as 20,000 euros. So those 10,000 visitors would result in 20,000 euros. But if your conversion rate was just 1 percentage point bigger, that would result in 300 customers, which with this math would result in 30,000 euros. So those 10,000 visitors would bring actually 10,000 more euros also to the site. So it's about making the most out of your visitors. And even though it is about making most of your visitors, the point is never to hoodwink anybody or force anybody to do the goals. So I encourage everybody to be responsible. And the good way to think about this is to kind of think about what your users would say if you would expose the tactics that you use to them. What would they think? Would they still be okay using your service? But there are no silver bullets. There's no like one clear thing like do this and then the conversion rate will go up. It's quite a bit of hard work, but luckily there is a pattern that you can use to achieve results, hopefully. So this is the pattern. It's about analyzing and investigating. It's about designing the improvements and then testing, measuring, and learning from those, and then repeating and repeating again. Yeah, let's discuss first about analyzing and investigating. So this is a very crucial part because you need to understand what is going on, and for that you need data. And also it's great to understand why things are so, and for that you can ask your customers. So to figure out what people are actually doing, I feel like designers quite often are quite familiar with doing user interviews and user testing, but it's good to know what people are actually doing in the existing site and figuring that out. For figuring that out, you need site analytics, you need heat maps, and you need user recordings. So site analytics are great to know where the people are coming from, what are they doing, how is their sales funnel performing, and you can also follow the conversions from different entry points of your site. Then heat maps are great because from there you can, for instance, see some click rates, you can see scroll depths, and from user recordings you can see a bit more clearly how people are actually using the service currently, and look at the mouse movement and so on. Here are a few things that you can look for. One quite common point to start with is where are people landing and what is the most the landing page with most traffic that has the lowest bounce rate. So that's a good point to start with. But there's also other things. Are people clicking non-clickable elements, and are there some device issues with smaller screens or bigger screens, so on. And then to figure out why people are behaving, so it's actually good to talk to your customers. You can talk to them face to face, you can call them, that's my favorite. And that's just to get a holistic understanding of your customers' needs. And you can also do some polls and questionnaires, put them on your site or send them via email. That there you can get answers to quite specific questions through that, and can get more volume to understand the why something is happening. And then it's always great to remember the customer care and the salespeople also, because they are the people who are in touch with your customers all the time. So they usually know what's preventing the customers from buying and what are their pain points. But based on this, when you've researched the data and you've talked to your customers, you should have some sort of understanding what you know at this point. Some issue that you've recognized based on the data and the questions you've asked. Yeah, after you have kind of spotted the issue, it's usually time to start designing the improvements. And here I'll share a few tips, or at least few things to consider while doing the designs for the improvements. So one key thing to consider on what to improve is to understand the human psychology and how human brains work. For instance, it's good to get to know familiar with the Maslow's hierarchy of basic needs. It's good to understand why and how people make decisions. And also it's important to not forget the cultural differences there. Then it's of course important to do some benchmarking, or at least good way to get ideas is to do some benchmarking, look at user research and best practices. And I really recommend using common design patterns if there are some. For instance, placing the shopping cart on the top right-hand side of the service is quite common, and it creates a cognitive load for the user if you place it somewhere else. And of course, hopefully there's just not one designer working on the service, but hopefully there's a team of maybe business, sales, marketing, developers, product owners, and so on. So talk to the team and ideate together. Ideas often usually exist, so just gather those ideas up. And sometimes it's good to trust your instincts as long as you test that. So it's okay to go with gut feeling sometimes, as long as you test if it's right or not. And then go crazy with the ideas, because sometimes very small changes can affect the conversion rate quite in a small way, and bigger changes create bigger impact. So go crazy and do some testing. Yeah, here's some examples of what you can test. For instance, landing page length, product pages, how they're set, and how the information there is organized. You can test, for instance, different copy text like headings and unique selling points, and even testing the price and its effect to the sales could be a good idea. But from the data and now from your design insights, you should have some sort of hypothesis that by changing this thing for these people results in this increase in this KPI. Yeah, those were my quick design tips. And the last part is mostly about about testing, measuring, and learning, which is the crucial part of this. So everything up to this point is basically a best guess, but the numbers will prove if the guess was right or not. This is like the testing phrases that you might run into. There's the test concept, so basically the hypothesis and the of what the change will be and how it will affect the numbers. You'll have the original, and then you'll have the variant, so the new design that you're testing against the original one. Then there's traffic weight, so you can assign different weights to the original and variant if you want to. You should always have, of course, the KPI that you're measuring. So if it's the conversion rate or something else, just figure out what's the most important metric for that change. And the champion will be the winner. Best practices: test always just one thing at a time related to the certain goal and certain audience. Have a clear hypothesis what you think will happen, so that in that way you know if you succeeded or not, and maybe you even have an understanding of why that happened. Run the test at least 2 weeks to get enough data, so that you have like a significant, that you can measure that you've made a like scientifically significant change, instead of just having like a quirk in the numbers. So have the test running long enough, and be prepared to have unclear results and failed tests. So quite often the case is that you might not have a clear winner, but then you learn from that, and then you can do more testing. This concludes my talk. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions or you'd like to hear more tips on how to do this, feel free to hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter handle is Sonja Jaakkola. Thank you so much.